Jeff Briden, our pets and our emotional health. Our pets and our emotional health, Jeff Briden.
What a wonderful meal. So nice that all of you are here, and great hanging out with friends. And I wanted to thank my managers, Christine and Chris, for showing up as well. I know that while we're here enjoying ourselves, those of us that own pets, if it's a cat, they probably don't care that we're gone or know that we're gone, because it's a cat's world and we're all just living in it, basically. But if it's a dog, it's a whole different story. A dog could be staring at the door. It might just be taking a nap and gaining energy so that when we do get home, it can be our source of entertainment, which it often is. I know in my life that's been the case. Or the dog may be boring a hole through that door, waiting for the moment for us to come back. The other night I was working at my radio job, and my wife called me up and she said, "You better get home quick because Sassy hasn't moved for about 15 minutes, thinking that you should have been home by now." So I'm going to introduce you to the source of a lot of joy in my life. Her name is Sassy Rose. She is a Maltipoo, and she's going on 4 years old. So I have a short video to let you get a chance to see what Sassy Rose looked like at 13 weeks old back in 2012.
Sassy girl.
I'm teaching her her name.
Hey, what you doing? Hi, Sassy. You are so pretty. Hi, Sassy.
A little bit of backstory about Sassy Rose. We knew we wanted to get a new dog. We saw an ad in the paper and were the first to call on it on a Friday morning, and we went out to Brainerd to a farm where they raise dogs. Not a mill, but a house where dogs are born and they raise them and then they sell them to people that want them. And there was another dog that came and I was holding, and I was looking at my wife, and I said, "This is the one we should get." And my wife, in her subtle, great authoritarian way, said, "No, I think this is the dog." And Sassy had gotten out of her little sleeping place and came walking up to my wife and basically stared her down and said, "I'm the one," without being able to say it. And Sassy was the one we brought home. Sassy, from day one, has incorporated herself into our family and into our hearts. They talk about dogs being acutely attuned to humans. I did some research on the internet, and there was a website called healthguide.org, a trusted nonprofit guide to mental health and well-being. And it had a lot of information about dogs, more than any other species, being acutely attuned to humans, not only to our words, but to our mannerisms. Have you ever been at home and you've had a rough day, and if you have a dog, they somehow know that you are struggling emotionally, or that maybe you're physically not feeling well, and they stay close by. They are attuned to changes in our physical condition, our breathing patterns, but also to how we're doing emotionally. Now, Sassy craves human touch, as many dogs do. She craves human contact more than any other dog I've ever been around. For example, she'll come up sometimes when I'm sitting in the living room, and she'll just jump up on the little ottoman, stare me down, and then jump up on my lap and start kind of spinning around, and then she'll try to just kind of settle. And if I start petting her for a bit, that's cool, but as soon as I quit petting her, the head goes up and the paw goes up. And it's like this drama queen thing. A diva at work that can't speak English. Mealtime, that is mealtime every night for me. A stare down, hoping that I will drop some morsel of food. Her routine, going outside, doing her business, means a pepperoni. We have something called a game stick, which is nothing but a dental chew thing, but she loves them. And every night she somehow knows at a certain time she's going to get that. So she's so in tune, not only to myself, but to our whole family, to our routine, to our vibe, for lack of a better word. She's helped my mother-in-law out tremendously. We lost my father-in-law last December. When I met my wife, she's an only child. She had bought the house with her parents back in 1985, and they were living together as a family, and I merged into that family. I tried not to burst into it, but at times I did. Whole nother story. Anyway, with this family came this feeling for me like that her parents were my parents in a very immediate sense. So when her dad died, it was a huge loss. And my mother-in-law, she doesn't drive. We call her, people call her, but she gets lonely. Sassy has been so huge in helping my mother-in-law grieve and get through this period and to start coming out and living again. Because the daily routine for my mother-in-law basically is she gets up, she has her breakfast, she does some chores. She's 80, so she's kind of limited, but she gets around. And then Sassy kind of sends her a signal that it's time for her to take a break by sitting on the chair and kind of getting up and wagging her tail or whatever. Some sort of communication. The touch of that dog for not only myself, my mother-in-law has her on her lap all day, but my wife, if I come over and I sit down and I start scratching my wife's back, Sassy will wedge herself in between my wife's back and my hand and decide that she's jealous and doesn't want me to scratch my wife's back on my own. So one night I thought, this is kind of fun. I picked Sassy up, she's not all that big, and I put her on my wife's back and she started scratching my wife's back. So now she knows how to scratch. So those are just some examples of this dog and how she's incorporated into my life. For my emotional health personally, in case you all haven't noticed, I'm a bit high strung. I've been sober in Alcoholics Anonymous for 17 years, and that's the greatest accomplishment of my life. But with that comes a lot of emotional challenges because people drink and drug, not because they're bad people, but because there's emotional issues that make them go to that. Well, part of recovery is emotional healing and emotional maturity. My biggest challenge ever with that road has been my temper and staying calm. Now, Toastmasters has helped me tremendously on the phone. I'm more relaxed on the phone. But when I get into situations, sometimes I get aggravated and I get uptight, and I don't always do so well. Sassy helps me when I get home, no matter what kind of day it's been, to take that edge off, because she doesn't care what kind of day I had. All she cares about is that I'm okay and that she can love on me and that I can love on her. And it's such a connection emotionally because it soothes away the rough edges. All of my life, I've had this relationship with animals, all the way back to some of my fondest moments as a child are remembering pets. It started in far back as I can remember in 1970, Christmas, Basset Hound under the Christmas tree. The Basset Hound gave birth to 7 Basset Hound puppies. These puppies were all over our house, and we have these old porcelain floors, and you could hear this, the ears grow quicker than the body does with a Basset Hound. So I would hear this, and the dog would slide across that floor and hit the cabinet because it had stepped on its ear before it could run. When I was in the Navy, I went to New Zealand for 4 months. I get back from a 21-hour flight from New Zealand to Washington, D.C. I just get home, I've got my sea bag, I flop down on the couch. My wife at the time had not told me she had gotten a dog. Well, this dog burst into the house, jumped over the couch, and landed on me. Cocker Spaniel puppy, Sweet Lorraine. And that was our introduction. My life there's countless stories. Even a cat named Yo-Yo one year tore down our Christmas tree 3 different times in one Christmas season. The research shows, especially for older people, that dogs, because of their social skills and the fact that they can connect with us on such an emotional level, even though they can't talk, they can sense these things. They help us, they expand our lives, they calm our hearts. The exercise we get by taking care of them, walking them, that also has a great deal to do with our both emotional health and physical health. And I want to end on this note. Dogs, to me, are love. Part of healing and part of being emotionally healthy is to love someone, to love something. And a huge component of love is having something to care about. We are put on this earth to help each other and to care about each other. And what better way to do that than with a pet that we can call our own. So if you don't have a pet and you can get a pet, start at a shelter. They're the greatest places. and develop that relationship in your life. The heck with dating and all those conversations. Get a